What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Travis RC. We're back here on the bench again. There's been a couple bench videos lately, as you know. So we got the truck all cleaned up and we figured we're gonna add another accessory that's really cheap and hopefully it should be really effective. What is that accessory? We have shock covers. These came from Max Custom Designs and Prints. So basically these are just fabric sleeves that you put over your springs, and it helps keep things out of the shocks. It helps keep them a little bit cleaner. Granted, dust can probably still get through them. But the biggest benefit I see to these is that you're not going to get little rocks or little debris on your shock shafts and scratch your shock shafts up. When you scratch your shock shafts, what can happen is when the shock compresses, oil can fill those little scratches, and when the suspension comes back out or the shaft comes back out, it can take some of that oil with it. So if you get some major damage on your shock shafts, it can cause, more oil than you want to come out probably. So this should hopefully at least help mitigate that. Hopefully keep them clean as well. So we're gonna go through each shock and put these on all four. So the covers came with this little pamphlet here, just some company information. RC shock covers, I believe is what they're called on here. But Max Custom Designs and Prints, facebook.com/MaxCDP and MaxCDP.com. You can order them there. They have all sorts of different RC products. These shock covers are obviously what we have here, and these come in a ton of different designs. This is the design that I went with because this is supposed to match the rock and roll body that we have for the X-Maxx. If there's not a design that they have available that you want, you can get it to them and they will put it on the fabric for you. So that's pretty sweet. So what we're going to do here is just take each shock off, take the springs off the shocks, put the covers over the springs, put the springs back on, and put the shocks back on the X-Maxx. What do we need to do this? Pretty simple. Just 2mm hex driver here on our electric bit, then also our 2mm MIP hand driver to finish those screws off, just to make sure that we're not doing any damage with the electric driver going into the plastic. We're also going to use some Cow RC hide wipes, the surface cleaner, just to clean the shocks up and make sure that those are as clean as they can be before we put the covers on. So let's take the shocks off and get started with it. Of course, phase one, take the shocks off. There is just one screw up here. And one screw down here. We're just going to use a small Allen key to push those pins out, set those off to the side, top. Bottom. And our shock is free. Now, at some point in time, we'll do a whole shock rebuild video. One thing that's different about this from other RCs I've seen is that there's actually some hardware. There's a 2mm screw here that actually holds the shock cap onto the end of the shock. So we just need to take that off. It's a little bit longer than you would think. All right, and then we just got to take the cap off. Just push that up, pull it out, and our spring is free from the rest of the shock. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our Cow RC hide wipe here and just give this a good cleaning. Make sure there's no residue, no dust or dirt on there at all. You might have a little bit of dirt in your threads here on the body, on the shock body. See if you can get your fingernail in there, clean that out as best as you can. I'm kind of a stickler for my things being clean if you guys haven't figured that out. Get all the plastics. Then I'm just going to take a clean rag here and just one dry wipe off here. And while we're doing this here, I'm just going to compress the shock just to check for air. So if this was getting pushed back out at all on its own, that would mean there might be some air in the shock, but all appears to be good there. So now let's go ahead and get the cover on the springs. Also make sure you wipe this off. Now, how you do this might be tricky. So we're just going to try to pull it over like this and push the spring down. This is definitely going to be the most tedious part of this whole process. All right, just like that. So we're going to make sure that the spring is centered in there. All right, that looks good to me. So then what you do with the excess here is you just tuck it inside of the spring on both ends. And that's it as far as that goes. Now you just put the shock back together as normal. Spring over the body. Make sure your fabric stays tucked in there. We're just going to make sure that stays tucked in when we bring it back down over the spring retainer. And then just check to make sure that you're not binding anything up at all. All right, so that's that. We'll go ahead and get our screw back here on the spring retainer. Man, that spring retainer screws a lot longer than you would think. All right, so there's one done, and now we'll just go through the rest of them. All right, there we go. Took the work stand out of the way so that we can see what the natural stance looks like with the shock covers installed. Definitely fits the body scheme, matches up very well. We'll see how they hold up. We'll see if they end up tearing or anything like that. We'll see how clean it keeps the shocks. Like I said, I think the big thing with these is really just going to be keeping large debris from scratching up your shock shafts and scratching up the shock body and whatnot. So all in all, obviously an easy install. You're just putting fabric over the shock springs. But other than that, we should be good to go. All right, we've had a couple really dusty, dirty runs since these shock covers have been installed. Let's go ahead and tear the shock apart and see what the shaft and the spring look like, see how dirty they are. I'm confident that they're not going to be any more damaged unless I bent a shaft on a weird landing. I've been bashing the truck pretty hard. Those times haven't quite been recorded either. So we're going to take the shock apart, see what it looks like. So fingers crossed, it looks pretty good. The only cleaning I've done to the truck since I recorded the previous clips in this video, I haven't torn the shocks apart. It's
been air compressed, and it's had foaming simple green, which, by the way, guys, works amazing. I'll do a video on that at some point. But my whole point here is I haven't ripped the shocks apart to clean them at all. I always forget how long this screw is. But I might as well take this apart anyway, because we're going to be doing some big shock changes here in an upcoming video. And that is going to include changing the shock oil to a stiffer weight and putting some stiffer aftermarket springs on as well. So there's that. This comes off. Well, I'll be darned, guys. Not a lot of dust or anything got through. I thought there'd be more dust that would get through. You can kind of see some right here, you know, around the end. Pretty minimal, though. There's not much on the actual shock body itself. The shaft looks good. Come on, focus, focus. There we go. Yeah, I mean, all in all, I really don't think you can get a better, more protective, you know, I guess, accessory or whatever for the X-Maxx that is going to provide as much protection. And the shocks are important because, A, obviously you want them to work well in order to soak up those landings and the rough terrain that you would undoubtedly drive an X-Maxx on. But I mean, it's no fun having to service your shocks all the time either. And this is going to help prevent your oil from leaking. It just is. And your shocks aren't going to get as dirty. It's just less stuff to clean overall. So overall, these shock covers, very impressed by them. They look great. They function well. Like I said, I ran the truck pretty hard since I installed these. There's no rips, no tears. They've stayed on perfectly. There's been absolutely zero issues with them, and they look great. So, that being said, make sure that you pick up a set of these. I'll make sure to provide a link in the description for these as well. But, I mean, come on, guys. Look at them. Look at them. Great, great purchase. Great, great, great purchase. So make sure you pick up a set of those. Like I said, I'll provide the information. And again, here is the information on this. Max Custom Designs and Prints. They've got an installation video. They've got a website right there. There's a QR code for that if you want to scan that. They've got a Facebook page, Instagram, all that stuff. Check them out, guys. You won't regret it, I promise. Thanks again for checking this one out. More videos coming soon. More bench videos, more bash videos. I know things have been slowing down, but monster trucks have been speeding up. So I'll share a couple of videos from bashing on monster truck tracks here pretty soon. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for checking this out. We're going to see you in the next one.